Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Natalie with Natalie's Closet, and I will be right back with how to crochet the crocodile stitch. I will see you in a sec.
Natalie's Closet.
Okay, so welcome back everyone. As I said, this is Natalie with Natalie's Closet, and today I am going to go ahead and show you how to crochet the crocodile stitch. And but first I wanted to go ahead and welcome any of our new subscribers and welcome back all of our existing subscribers. I'm going to just put in a, well, not really a side note, but a note that as far as the subscriber of the week is concerned, today is not going to count with the jewelry, simply because I don't have any jewelry on, because I didn't want it to snag with any of the yarn. That being said, this is the crocodile stitch blanket that I've told you guys was my very first project that I ever made. It was a commissioned piece which clearly fell through, which is a long story in and of itself. But at the time, it was requested to have a superwash merino wool that was primarily red and orange with some yellow. So I happened to find this yarn and it was perfect. This was back when I first started my business, and well, not really first started the business, well, yeah, pretty close to it, but it is the very first project I ever worked on. But I, at the time, was still, I like to be a trusting person. I like to think that people are basically good and that you can trust them, even though I've been burned several times in the past, is what it is. But at the time, this, as you can see, there's 480 yards to each hank. This blanket took 3.5 hanks of yarn, so that's a lot of yarn. The material itself cost $120 for this blanket, so I only took a $25 deposit on it. Yeah, not smart, especially since it fell through and I had $120 invested in the material itself. The reason I still have it is because I'm not willing to settle. Oops, sorry for the earthquake there, guys. My camera just adjusted. I am not willing to settle on the price, and so I'd rather keep it until someone who is really wanting it and is willing to pay for it gets it, or until such time as I had someone that I wanted to gift it to. But for me personally, I prefer using a fingering weight or maybe a sport weight for the crocodile stitch, because I feel it gives it better definition. As you can see, there's great definition on this blanket. You can clearly see the scales, and it's a cleaner, tighter overall project with the fingering weight. You can obviously use any weight you want, but you also have to take into consideration the amount of yarn it uses. Like I said, this is 480 yards, and it took 3.5 hanks to make a carriage size blanket. This isn't a full size blanket. This was designed for a pram, one of the flatbed carriages for a baby. So this is a relatively small blanket, all things considered, and it took that much yarn. So if you think about a worsted weight yarn in a full-size baby blanket, there's a lot of weight that there's going to be on that blanket. So that's my personal preference, my personal opinion. Again, you do what you want to do. I'm just giving you my thoughts. But I am going to go ahead and put this off to the side now, so I can go ahead and start the tutorial. Now, also, I am going to ask you guys to please give me a little bit of leeway, because you all know the row counter was my very first tutorial of any kind. This is my very first crochet tutorial on a stitch. So please give me some leeway, and hopefully I get it all done right, and you guys can understand what I'm saying. Not understand like English, but understand what I'm trying to describe, and the way you see me work it up, and that it makes sense for you. I did make extensive notes so that I can make sure to have everything in it. That being said, there's not really any one place for me to give credit to, because when I made my blanket, I actually watched several different tutorials, and kind of clean things up for myself. So this really is it kind of sort of my own pattern, but not, because it's, I think, a pretty standard pattern. Some people do it a little bit differently than others. Like this one is working over the V-stitch versus into it, so that it actually has like a 3D effect. And plus it's got the staggered scales so that they're not laying right on top of each other. But that is a pretty common way of doing it, so just bear with me if I stutter or whatever. I did make 2 swatches yesterday. I didn't tie in or sew in the ends or anything because I just whipped them up yesterday. But this one is, I'm going to actually do the tutorial in this yarn, because I think for purposes of you seeing what I'm doing, the thicker yarn is a little bit better. This is a DK weight. Actually, I think it's a thicker DK weight. It's like a light worsted for the most part. This one is a fingering weight, and I don't know if you can see what I mean, but to me this is a tighter and more definition as far as the stitch. There's a lot more stitch definition in the fingering weight. I think that's what I feel, and again, it's my personal opinion. You do what you want. But I love this one, and having done, because I haven't done the Crocodile Stitch in a while, and having worked up these 2 swatches, oh my goodness, reminded me how much I love the stitch. This one, like I said, is a thicker DK weight, but if you can tell, see, it just to me looks not quite as clean, and I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know, maybe you guys will agree with me, maybe not. But I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side. Like I said, I'm going to use this yarn for it. Now, this came in a ball, okay? There's 160 meters in this ball. This swatch right here took about a quarter of this ball. So when I say it eats yarn, it eats yarn. But it is such a beautiful stitch, and it comes out so nicely. So bear with me. I hope this comes out well, and don't laugh if I stutter or make a mistake and try to correct myself. You all know I don't edit my content, but I'm going to do my best here. Okay, so I am going to have to edit a little bit because my other video got cut off, but that's okay. I switched to the yellow yarn. It's the same yarn, it's just a different color. I'm hoping that the definition will come out a little bit better. I'm hoping the lighting is okay. We had some storms come through, and I wasn't able to record earlier, or I couldn't continue to record because just between the sound of the thunder and everything and the lighting and whatever. So I'm hoping this is going to come out okay, and I'm hoping I'm close enough to my hands that you guys can really see the difference, because I was having a problem with that before. So anyway, for purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to just go ahead and start with a chain 25. I'm hoping my camera is actually going to focus, and yeah, and I'll just go ahead and show you how to make, how to do the first probably 2, 4, 6 rows, which is really the V-stitch in the back, and then the scale, and then V-stitch, scale, V-stitch, scale. So anyway, when you start with a row or a chain of 25, you're going to do a V-stitch into the 5th chain from the hook. The V-stitch in this particular case is a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. So we're going to go, all right, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute, hold on a second. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to go ahead, do a V-stitch in the 5th chain from the hook, which the double crochet, sorry, was yarn over, pull through 2, and then a chain 1, and then a 2nd double crochet, and then there's your first V-stitch, if you can see that right there. Now this chain 4 is going to count as a double crochet. So then what you're going to do all the way until the last 2 stitches is you're going to skip 2 chains and then do another V-stitch. So that's the 3rd chain. So you do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now I'm hoping this is all going to be coming out okay. I have been doing this all day with different take after take after take after take, and I don't know, I think it's because I really don't have the right tools. And if I'm going to continue doing tutorials on stitches, I think I'm going to have to either invest in another boom, or a better tripod. But you guys, I'm always willing to learn from, constructive criticism. Obviously, I'd appreciate if you were at least kind with any criticism, not even criticism. I shouldn't even say that. If you guys have any thoughts, ideas, or if you want to let me know, okay, you're going too fast with the double crochets or whatever the case may be. This being the crocodile stitch, I'm guessing that if you are interested in learning to do the crocodile stitch, you're probably more than just a beginning crocheter. I know I myself learned better from the harder stitches, and then I worked. That's, as you all know, my first project was a crochet or a crocodile stitch blanket, and then I picked that up quickly, very quickly, and it instantly became my favorite stitch. And then I had to learn backwards to the basics, and that's how I learned. So that could be the case with you guys. I'm hoping not, and if it is, then I'm hoping that I'm doing it okay enough that you're able to pick it up completely. So now we've got the last 2 chains, so we're going to do a double crochet in the last chain. Really? I'm really not sure why this yarn is splitting as much as it's wanting to. Okay, so we've got the first row, which are the V-stitches. So for my purposes, in regards to this tutorial, I have 7 V-stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so this is, the crocodile stitch really is a 2-row repeat. You're going to be repeating rows 3 and 4 until you finish, your project is the size you're going to want it to be. So then now what you're going to do is you're going to turn your work, and then we're going to be working on top of the V-stitches, not in it. I've seen it where people have tried to describe doing the crocodile stitch like on it. We're doing it over it, we're doing it on top of, so that it's a 3D effect. So at this point, you're going to, I'm also looking at my notes to make sure I keep everything in here, so you guys, I'm telling you everything that you need to know. Okay, hold on a second. All right, so basically I know. All right, so we're going to go ahead, and we turned, and now we're going to chain 3. Now this chain 3 is going to count as your first double crochet in your the beginning of your first scale. Okay, so you're going to work into this first V-stitch right here, and all of this is going to be front post double crochets. So we're going to be working into this post of this V-stitch right here. Okay, I find it easy now. See, so you're going to yarn over. You're going to go from the front into the back. Oops, sorry. Yarn over, and then finish your double crochet. Okay, so I find it easier to bend my work so that I have this post right here, and I can easily work into it. So we have the starting double crochet, and then we just did another one. So do 3 more, because you need a total of 5 double crochet. And I'm just doing the front post double crochets into that first V of the post. All right, so now you're going to turn your work, and you're going to work into the next post. This is the V-stitch right here. Okay, so now you're going to be doing front post double crochets into this the second post of the V-stitch. Now here we were working from the top down. Now you're going to do a chain 1 for the tip of the scale, and then you're going to go ahead and work 5 double crochets into this post. Now I like to bend it so that I have this post right there. Yarn over, and you're going from the front to the back, just it's bent. So now do 5 double crochets. And again, if I'm doing this too quickly, let me know. Obviously it's going to be after the video is done, but I'll know for future reference to slow it down. So now you've got your first scale. Isn't that awesome? I absolutely love the stitch. It does use a ton of yarn, but I love the stitch. So now you're going to skip this V-stitch right here. You're going to skip it. That's the one that's basically underneath this part of the scale. Let me move this. All right, so we're going to skip this V-stitch and we're going to start working into this one. So we're going to do 5 front post double crochets into this first post of that V-stitch. Okay, and like I said, I bend it so that it's easier, it's easier to work into it. So there's 1, 2, sorry about that, guys. And even though I've been doing this all day, like preparing for it and testing and whatever, I'm still a little nervous because I know this is the actual tutorial, you know what I mean? So now we've got the 5 double crochets, chain 1 for the tip of the scale, turn your work, and now we're going to go ahead and build up the rest of the scale into this second post of that V-stitch. Now I fold it and just work 5 double crochets, working from the bottom to the top. I think my problem is when I try to slow it down, I kind of lose my momentum, if that makes sense. All right, so now we've got 2 scales. Awesome. I love it. I love it, love it. All right, so we're going to do this all the way to the end, which I mean in this case isn't that many, but we're going to skip this next V-stitch and we're going to work into this V-stitch doing the front. You go in through the front and then through the back, pull yarn over, pull through, and then you're doing your double crochets. And then you do 5 of them. Again, I fold it over so that it makes it easier to work into that post, and then you do the chain 1, turn your work so that you can get back to the second post of that V-stitch. I fold it over, you see this is that post, the second post. I just fold it over so that I can work right into it. Do another 5 double crochets, oopsie. And it's funny because I knew that was going to happen. And I'm really not used to looking through the viewfinder, or you know, through the camera or the screen at what I'm doing. All right, so we did those 5. Now we're going to go ahead and skip this next to last V-stitch right there. We're going to work into this final V-stitch. So I'm going to fold it over. Now you don't have to fold it over. If you find it easier to work the other way without folding, that's fine. Now another thing you may notice is, oh, I hope I don't get into some more yarn barf like I did with the pink one. That was fun. I was sitting here untangling it. What you may notice is as I'm working the front post double crochets, working it this way from the top down, this is the front of the double crochets, okay? And this is the back. The back of the double crochets is actually on top. Now the reason you do it this way is because it would naturally want to curl up if you did it the other way, and then you wouldn't have this nice, this would look more like a ruffle versus these scales. It would look like it's ruffled and it would be like kind of ruffling up. This way they kind of go down, and so it just makes it a cleaner and nicer and more defined scale. All right, so 2 more. Then I'm going to chain 1 for the tip, and then I'm going to turn my work and work into this last post, which can sometimes get a little wonky. All right, now we're going to do 5 more front post. Oopsie, that one kind of didn't work with me there. All right, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so at this point we are done with row 1 and row 2, and we've got our scales. And for purposes of this tutorial, I've got 4 scales here. All right, now you may notice that this is a little loose and not looking so great, but I'll show you in row 3 how we're gonna close or clean that up. So, oopsie, oh, I lost that double crochet. Oh, I just lost another one. Seriously? Wait, what did I do? Okay, hold on a second. Haha, because I'm working upside down. You know, I sometimes wonder about myself. Please forgive me, and I apologize for my dry skin also. Okay, so we've got 2 there. I just undid 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. All right, so now what you're going to do, and this is what the back of it looks like so far. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, and we're on row 3. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure my notes, I know what I'm doing. I just want to make sure that I'm telling you everything correctly. So you're going to do a slip knot, I'm sorry, not a slip knot, a slip stitch in you know, I sometimes wonder about myself here. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and do a slip stitch into the top of this, oopsie, wrong one, into the top of that double crochet or the chain. So go ahead and do a slip stitch, turn your work, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to do row 3, which is setting up the next row of V stitches. Okay, so we chain 3 here. Now you're going to go ahead and yarn over, and the first V stitch is going to go right into this chain 1 space. So we're going to do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. All right, so we've got our first V stitch in the top, or in the chain 1 of that scale. Now this is where I was talking about that we're going to actually connect rows 1 and 2. So you see this V stitch right here that we didn't work into? We are going to yarn over, go through this V stitch, and then down and under and between these 2 scales. Okay, you don't want to go into the stitch right there. You're wanting to go under and between these 2 scales. So pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2 for your first double crochet in that V stitch. And then you chain 1, and you're going to do this again. Yarn over, go into that V stitch, go through and between the 2 scales, pull through and up, then yarn through, pull through 2, pull through 2. I don't know what my problem is. It's like I totally don't know what I'm talking. Like I'm going, my brain is going faster than my fingers can. Okay, so now we're just going to continue going all the way across. Do another V stitch in this chain 1 space. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we're going to go ahead and connect rows 1 and 2 again here. We're going to work into this V stitch right there. So yarn over, go into this V stitch and go in between and under these 2 scales. and then do your double crochet, chain 1, yarn over, go through that V-stitch again, up and under, and finish that double crochet. Now we're going to go ahead and do another V-stitch over here in this chain 1 space. I really hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. We're going to go ahead and do another V-stitch in here where we're going to connect rows 1 and 2. So you go through this V-stitch, oopsie, through the V-stitch, up and under and between those 2 scales. And then we're going to do it again and finish that V-stitch. And you can always check to make sure that you're not going through the stitch, that you actually went underneath. Okay, now to start with, do you see how that kind of cleaned this up? It made it more secure and less like loose looking. All right. My throat is kind of bothering me. Sorry about that. All right. So now you're going to do your last V-stitch in this chain 1 space. All right, now you're going to do a chain 3 in the top of this double crochet or chain. All right, so now you are done with row 3, which is setting up the V-stitches that you're going to work in and build your scales. Looks nice. All right. Sorry, didn't mean for the earthquake. I apologize. All right, so now you're going to go ahead and turn your work, and we're going to start working over or on top of the V-stitches. Now, because we're wanting to make it a staggered row where we're working the scale here in between these scales, we need to move our stitches over, and we don't want to go up. Now, if I were to do like a chain 3 here, I would be going up. We don't want that. We want to move over without adding any height to it. So we're going to do a slip stitch into this first double crochet. Oopsie. All right. So you go into this first double crochet, pull through, and then, for crying out loud, and then pull through. Then we're going to go into this double crochet, do another slip stitch, and you don't want to do it too tight because you are moving over, so you don't want it to like scrunch up too badly. Then you're going to go through this first V-stitch and do another slip stitch. Okay, so now we've moved over enough to be able to work into this V-stitch, which will give us the scale that will stagger between these 2 scales. All right, so now we're going to do the front post double crochets again. All right, so yarn over, go from the front into the back, pull through or pull up, pull through 2, pull through 2 to do your first double crochet. And now I bend it, again, I bend it so that I have that post easily accessible to me, and then I'll go ahead and do the rest of the double crochets. Remember, you need 5 of them in here. 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I do an extra one? Wait a minute, here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, guys, I'm going to undo this. I apologize. Please forgive me. No, okay. That was the slip stitch in there. All right. Please forgive me, guys. I apologize for that. I wanted to make sure I did it right for you. All right. So there's 3, 4, 5. Now chain 1 for the tip. Turn your work. And then, like I said, I always fold it here so I can work into that post easier. And now you're going to do 5 more front post double crochets. All right, so now we've got our first staggered scale and the start of row 3. I'm sorry, row 4. All right, so now what we're going to do again is skip this V-stitch, and we're going to work into this V-stitch. So yarn over through the front, the back, I fold it and do 5 front post double crochets. But can you see why this uses, or how this uses so much yarn? It's incredible, but it's such a fun and beautiful stitch. And I know some people think it's a really complicated stitch. Not that it's the easiest, but it's once you get it going and you can just fly through it. I mean, seriously, it's so easy. So you turn your work, and we're going to work the remaining 5 double crochets into that post. So I bend it. I fold it, I should say. 1, 2. Now, if you guys have any questions, or if you need something clarified, please feel free to ask. I really forgot just how much I love this stitch until I was working up these samples. And then I was like, whoa, baby, I love it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and skip this V-stitch, and we're going to work, this is going to be the last V-stitch. We're going to make a scale in on this swatch. Now, obviously, if you're doing a blanket or something that's wider, you're just going to work on row 3 and row 4, or on row 4, you're going to work into the next to last V-stitch before moving over and going to the next row. Okay, so we skip this V-stitch, yarn over, front to back for your front post double crochets, do 5. Again, you're working from top to bottom on this post, and then chain 1 for the tip, and then turn your work. I fold it to get better access. Well, right now it's being wonky right now, but I fold it to get better access. Then you're working from the bottom up. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so now we have all of the scales for row 4. We've got the 3, and they are staggered in between the bottom row of scales. I'm glad I did this in yellow because I think it's looking better in it, and I really hope that the light isn't too bad. I have my whatchamacallit, ring light at its highest. Okay, anyway, so now we're going to move from here over to the end so we can start the next row. So you're going to slip stitch into that V-stitch, go into this double crochet, slip stitch, and then the top of this double crochet, go ahead and slip stitch. So now I'm going to go ahead and work the next row of scales so that you can see how to continue. But all you're doing is repeating rows 3 and 4, which that's the V-stitch row, and then the scales for the rest of your project for as long as you're wanting it. Okay, so this is, well, I'll show you what the back looks like once we get another row of scale, or I'm sorry, V-stitches and scales. So from this point with the row 3, you're going to go ahead and turn your work. You're going to chain 3, and I wanted to show you this so that I can clarify what to do on this next row where there's not 2 scales that you're needing to connect, you know, that you're trying to connect the 2 rows. So you did the chain 3. Now your first V-stitch is going to go, you see this V-stitch right here? It's going to go into here, but you're not having to go between and under 2 scales because there's only this one here, okay? So you're going to go ahead, yarn over, go through this V-stitch right there, pull through, and then pull through 2, do your chain, do 1 more, and you've got your first V-stitch on row 5. Okay, now you're going to do your next V-stitch into the chain 1 here. So that's a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Then we're going to be connecting row 3 and 4 here and tightening it up a little. So remember, you're going to yarn over, you're going to go through this V-stitch, and then under and between these 2 scales, pull up, pull through 2, pull through 2, chain 1, do it again through the V-stitch up and under, and you complete that V-stitch. Then we're going to do the next one in the chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and connect these two rows again. So yarn over, go through this V-stitch, up and under and between these 2 scales, pull up, yarn through, or pull through 2, pull through 2, and then do your chain, do it again, and voila. Then we're going to do the next 2 V-stitches. We'll be done with row 5. So we do this V-stitch into this chain 1, and then here again, you're at the end now, so you're going to go ahead and do the V-stitch. You're going to go through this V-stitch, and right here, you don't have to go in between and under 2 scales. You're just going right through, doing this V-stitch, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and do a chain 3 at the top of this double crochet. Now, I've always done it right in this little spot. I don't know if you can see. It doesn't actually, you can't see through it, but that's where I've always done my double crochet in that row. As the top of, see, now you can kind of see the little hole right there. But that's where I'll do the, that's where I choose the top of that double crochet or chain. All right, so we are done with, oopsie, that V-stitch row. So turn your work. You're going to go ahead and do a chain 3, which is going to count as your first double crochet for this first side of the scale. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and do the front post double crochet. Go in through the front and the back, pull through, yarn through, or pull through 2, pull through 2. That's your second double crochet. Okay, so we need to do 3 more double crochets, and remember, these are front post double crochets. All right, so we've got the 5 double crochets. Do the chain 1 for the tip, then you turn your work. Again, I always fold over. It just makes it easier to get, oopsie, that was not a double crochet. It just makes it easier to work into that post. So yarn over, do 5 double crochets, oopsie, hold on. So I did 3, 4. Oy, what is my problem, guys? All right, so 5. So there's your first scale of that row, and it's going to be another one that lines up with your second row. Again, go ahead and skip this V-stitch and work into the next. Again, you're going to see it's staggering and working, like I said, to be along with your row 2 scales. Okay, so we're skipping this V-stitch. We're going to yarn over front to back, fold, work 5 double crochets. Oopsie. Now, I did have a question for you guys, and I will go ahead and ask it. You know the beginning chain when you're working on a blanket, and how, okay, chain 1 for the tip, turn your work, fold it over so you can work into that post better. Now do 5 more double crochets. The beginning chain on a baby blanket, you know how some patterns you'll see, okay, chain 155 or whatever size you would like, do it in increments of 7 plus 3, or increments of 5 plus 2, or just do it increments of 10 all the way until you get it to the width you want it. You know what I mean? Is there a formula based on, I know it's based on the stitch that you're actually using, but is there a formula, once you know what stitch you're wanting to use, to be able to figure that out without having to do however wide you want it and frog it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until your stitches work out the way that they're supposed to get to the next row? Does that make sense? Is there a formula to be able to do that? I'm good with math. Math has always been. I'm not quite sure why my camera or my phone just stopped recording, but I'm glad I happened to catch it so I didn't miss a ton of stuff. But so skip this V-stitch and work 5 more double crochets. Is there a formula to be able to figure that out? Like based on the stitch you're going to use, what the increments are that you're supposed to use to get the right width and the right stitch count? I would love to know that, because that's one thing that has really prevented me from doing my own pattern of any kind, because I've found it so frustrating to work up a starting chain, and then trying to figure out, you know, did I do enough chains or not, and frogging it and going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If somebody can help me with that, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so we're skipping this chain, I'm sorry, this V-stitch, and working in this final V-stitch. Okay, so every other row you're going to be working your way over from, you know, you're going to do the slip stitch to get to the end. And then every other row after, you know, the one that has more of the scales, you're going to work into the final V-stitch. But anyway, I would greatly appreciate any help on that, because that would make my life that much easier. Because right now I basically, I'll still fudge it until I get, you know, until it works out the way I need it to work out. But if there's actually a way to figure it out without having to frog it 8,000 times, I would be forever grateful to you if somebody can give me that answer. All right, now we're going to do the final 5 double crochets. All right, so we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of this chain 2 or chain double crochet or chain, sorry about that. And then that's it. So your next rows would be again 3. You just keep repeating. You're going to then, for the next row, you would go ahead and do your V-stitch row. So you would chain 3 and then work your V-stitch into this first chain 1, and then you'd move on and so on and so forth. So I gave you my homework question. Is there a formula to be able to figure out the initial chain row when working out a blanket, depending on stitch you're using, as far as the increments based on the width that you're wanting your blanket? But here is the sample. The other one that I did, remember, had an extra 2 rows in it, but I really like the way this yellow one worked up a lot. It actually is a lot cleaner, I think, than the pink one was. But I hope this worked out well, and I hope that you enjoyed it and that you actually were able to see everything and understood what I was saying. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will either respond or answer it in the comment section, or I should say, I will answer it in getting to know you so everybody can learn based on whatever question it is that you have. If you have any requests as far as a stitch you would like to have me work up, and if you have any requests or suggestions as far as, you know, I know the double crochet, but you kind of went too fast through it, or, you know, slow it down, or zoom here, or explain better, or whatever, I would greatly appreciate it. I mean, this is my very first stitch tutorial where I'm actually working the stitch and trying to teach you how to do it. So keep that in mind. Before like going, you know, crazy. But of course, you always learn, and I want to be able to work these stitch tutorials the way it's going to work for you to actually learn. I mean, that's the only way you're going to benefit from it, right? So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it didn't get too long, and yeah, just have a great day. I will see you tomorrow night for the live, as long as all things work out well. And thank you so much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. My mom says hello to everybody, and thanks everybody for always thinking of her in the comments. And Miley says hi to her peeps. She said she'll see you tomorrow night. She said she's gonna push me to do the live no matter what, because she misses you guys. I think it's more that she misses some other stuff, but I only have one small BONE though, so that's not going to be fun but for her. But anyway, have a great night. Stay safe and healthy. Remember, for every season there's a reason to crochet. If you are new to my channel and you're still here, I would love it if you'd hit the subscribe, or consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell next to that. Make sure you have it hit to all so you get notified for all of my videos. And if you'd give this video a thumbs up, I would greatly appreciate it. It lets, especially if you enjoyed the content, it lets YouTube know that you liked it. And if you're willing to share it, that would be amazing as well. I love you all dearly. Remember, stay safe and healthy. Love, hugs, and prayers to everyone. Extra prayers to anybody who needs them. And I will see you tomorrow. And I think I said it, for every season there's a reason to crochet, but it's always worth repeating that one because it's very true. All right, so have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow. I'll talk to you later. Bye.